I did not see this coming after what seems like weeks and weeks of seeing the Habs ranked too low across the board. SportsNet has come out with their list of the top prospects under 23, and Habs fans are shocked, stunned, but also thrilled with some of the rankings that we have to dive into that. Plus, Elite Prospects is doing their top ranking of prospect pools where Montreal features very strongly. And finally, Jesse, Pascal Vincent had a press conference today, and he spoke about a lot of things, but namely some more comments on how he believes Patrik Laine will fare in Montreal. There's a bunch of exciting stuff, so stick around for this episode of Habs Digest, and we're going to get right into it with Pascal Vincent. Now, there's a lot of stuff in this full interview, and it will be linked down below. It's about 30 minutes, and I believe it was all in French. At least, I didn't hear exactly all of it, but pretty much everything I heard was in French. So, anyway, regardless, though, it's pretty cool. If you speak French, go check it out. But Jesse, Pascal Vincent, first of all, looking like a real Quebecois dad, if I must say so myself. He looks great right now. He looks happy. He looks thrilled. But it was his comments about Laine that has some Habs fans talking, and I'm going to bring him up. He said, I think he's sincerely excited to be here in Montreal. He wants to play. He wants to perform. He loves his teammates. Oh, I'm getting excited. I saw him this morning. He was just smiling. He's really happy to be here. So, I don't know if we're ever going to get the full answer to the true relationship between Vincent and Laine because, well, let's be honest. Let's hope that Vincent doesn't end up somehow coaching Laine at some point in Laval this season. But, that's not going to happen because Laine is about to go out there and score 40 goals for Montreal. Jesse, to hear that Laine is genuinely happy to be in Montreal, I'm sure he was happy in other places, but to hear this from Vincent, to hear this from every single player, to hear this from management, to hear that he loves his teammates and everyone seems to think this is the perfect situation for him. I know we talk about it every day, but doesn't this just make you feel even better?
Well, it's some strong words, saying that he loves his teammates, coming from his former coach in Columbus, somebody that knows this player. For sure, they didn't have too much time together, but enough where you have a feeling where you can tell, okay, this player is happy. He's in good spirits. And just reiterating a lot of the comments that Nick Suzuki made of just how Laine's been out on the ice early. Apparently, they've been working on the power play today, too, with Adam Nicholas, so he's just getting out there early. But we know that's the main thing is that, that was the whole problem with Laine is he forgot to have fun playing hockey. It just became more of a chore to him. But we know if he's having fun, how he can produce. We know we always, do better when we're having fun in the work that we're doing. So just amazing, amazing news here.
Yeah, for sure. And Pascal Vincent, he had some other great quotes too. But I mean, again, like you said, Jesse, when you know a guy, when you coach a guy, you get to know him. You get to see how he interacts with his teammates, how he gets to interact with his friends, his family, the people around him. And you're around, your coach is going to be one of the people that you see the most as a professional hockey player. To hear these comments from him, it is definitely really cool. And please check out the interview. We might actually talk about some other stuff he said in upcoming videos, so stay tuned. But Jesse, we're going to move on quickly because we got some awesome stuff to get into. And I want to start with Elite Prospects. And this here, that's more like it. Well, that applies to everything that you will see from here on out in the video because the Habs are finally getting the respect they deserve. At least the respect that we think they deserve, Jesse. I know we are so high on the Habs for good reason. We are huge fans. We do this show. But it's finally good to see someone that's, maybe not from the Athletic ranking the Habs very highly. And again, nothing against the Athletic. They do great work. I'm subscribed to it. So, it is what it is. But Elite Prospects, EP Ringside 2024 NHL Prospect Pool Rankings. Montreal is number 3. Now, I don't know who number 2 is. I didn't see it, actually. Number 1 is San Jose, I'm quite sure. But just some quotes here quickly before we dive into this, Jesse. The one thing that they kind of said here is, this is also linked down below. Please go check it out. They drafted an elite forward Demidov, easy to project top defensive prospect in Reinbacher. Easy to project, I guess, is subjective considering who some people or where some people rank him. But they have lots of hope for Hudson and Xhekaj. They have a bunch of other really solid depth prospects like Beck, Mailloux, and Engstrom. The first two play a highly translatable game. I think that's one thing that they're focusing on, Jesse. They're saying Montreal has a lot of guys easy to project. They're guys that kind of have pretty high floors when you look at the grand scheme of things.
That's
and I
true.
really think that they're valuing those things that we tend to value in Montreal higher than other outlets, which is why Montreal's ranked so high here.
Exactly. And them also having, the fair compliment in this article of having a complete prospect pool, which is what we've been saying on the pod now for the last couple months as we're breaking down these rankings. They have a little bit of everything, not only on offense, defense, goaltending, but then you kind of have that star player for the most part at every type of those positions. But then also these really solid projectable players, as you mentioned, to really complement them. And that's how you really get the complete prospect pool when you have a little bit of everything. And I would say not just that, but solid depth to go along with that. Not only do you have a Demidov or a Hudson, and the Reinbach with those star type potentials. When you throw like a Joshua, a Beck, an Engstrom, a Mayu, like these, even if Mayu doesn't end up being a star, that's an amazing prospect to add depth to that pool to really be a solid NHLer for a really long period of time. So I really completely agree. It's so nice to just see these same thoughts being echoed. For sure, they are shared by many analysts across the league, is that Montreal has just done it completely right when building out their system. That meant even, taking Reinbacher, it was, a little bit of a debatable call at the time. But if you're looking back, like if Hudson, maybe Mayu is like only our main kind of star type of guys, it's like, that's great. But when you have a guy like Hudson, like it's just like cherry on the top if he pans out, but you want to be a little bit more safe with that. Having a guy like Reinbach who still has that star potential, but again, his skills are so translatable to the NHL, just makes you feel so much more secure in us having such an amazing prospect pool.
Yeah, there's so many guys here that are just like, people say boom or bust with certain prospects. Montreal feels to have very few of those. I mean, there are always going to be question marks about Demidov until he finally proves on North American ice from certain people. Like, I'm not worried about him. And, there are going to be question marks about Laine Hudson. I guess if you could fit him into that boom or bust kind of thing, because like either his offensive skills really translate, he does great, or he doesn't and he's too small. I don't see that happening either. I see him being way too good, but you know what I mean, right? But the rest of these guys, like, he's not the world's best skater, but he fits in on every line he plays. He looks like he fits in the NHL. Owen Beck, fantastic defensively, amazing on the faceoff dot, starting to pick up in his goal scoring. Logan Mailloux, dynamo, offensive dynamo. Adam Engstrom has shown offensive crazy flashes and has also been playing as like a top guy in a pro league for a long time. There's just so many things to like about Montreal, which is why I think that they have them so high. But it's not just them, Jesse. SportsNet has come out with their list of the top prospects under 23, and again, linked it down below. Oh yeah, I know you do. I know I'm excited for this too. Oh my gosh, this is maybe my favorite thing I've seen in a while. We're going the big screen for this, so you guys can see the big number 2 on their entire list, behind only, I think it was Macklin Celebrini, right? I think he was he was the number 1. So of players that are still prospects, not in the NHL. It's like Bedard doesn't count here. Demidov's number 2, Jesse. They have Matvei Michkov at number 4 on this list. SportsNet has gone all in. Now, there's another Habs player that's coming up that we'll talk about in just a minute, but how you feeling seeing him finally, like, ranked above so many other players, ranked above everyone else in his draft class almost, and ranked above the guy that people are comparing him to the most. This has me finally so happy, so excited to share some ranking news about Habs prospects.
Absolutely, and rightfully so. Yeah, ranked above Matvei Michkov at number 4 as well. And so nice to see that love, because we're seeing a couple lists lately where it's like Michkov is ranked so high and Demidov so far below, and I just never quite really understood the disconnect. Like for me, it's like Demidov has that offensive capabilities, but then he plays more of a solid defensive game, in my opinion, at this point in time than Matvei Michkov. So for sure, you would naturally conclude that he'd be ranked higher, but it's not something that we've seen all the time. So it seems like Sportsnet rather is really getting this right, and these are the top 23 under 23 players. So it's a fair amount of young players to still be included in this, and to have Ivan Demidov so high where he rightfully deserves, I think it's totally right. I think the question in the future is not going to be so much, Demidov and Macklin are always, Matvei are always going to be connected. We have to feel like that Demidov, Celebrini. I think that's going to be the real question of where do these two end out in the future? Both different styles of play for sure, but, be interested to see where their careers end up.
Yeah, and there were guys drafted ahead of Demidov, and it's like Seneca and Lindstrom. They could still very well be good, but it seems like everyone's just saying look at this Demidov guy. Look at what he's doing in the KHL. Look at what he's doing everywhere. It's absolutely amazing. So yeah, I think it's well deserved. I think it's really cool to finally see someone put Demidov where I think we would put Demidov, which is kind of surreal because we are maybe a little bit biased, whether we like to admit it or not, doing this show. But Jesse, before we end off this episode, there's one other guy on this list that I wanted to bring up, and this was the biggest surprise to me. They have Reinbacher higher than anywhere else I've seen him on something like this. Again, this is an under 23. They have Reinbacher ahead of guys like Gabe Perreault, like Jimmy Snuggerud, who you often see ranked quite a bit higher when you're talking about under 23 prospect pools. They got David Reinbacher right there at number 11. I absolutely love this, and I do understand people ranking Reinbacher a little bit lower because, all you can do with a prospect, you can project to the future, you can see, but last season, from just purely an optics standpoint, it wasn't great. And that's fine, right? Not every prospect's going to have a great season. So I understand people being timid with them. But it sure seems like Sportsnet, this kind of this kind of bringing together of 3 or 4 analysts to rank these people, to have Reinbacher this high is like, I am surprised by this, because I start to wonder if I would have him this high, because maybe I'm biased by last season too, but to see that there's lots of people out there who still just see like, I mean, this guy's huge. He's also not 6'2". He's definitely like 6'4", by the way. To see a big defender, very fluid skater, has already looked comfortable on North American ice. I love it.
This is amazing to see, and it really leads to the question with him being ranked so high ahead of guys like Gabe Bourgault, Rutger McGroarty. Is Josh, what are your thoughts on David Reinbacher making the Montreal Canadiens out of camp? Now, I'm going to say I see Hudson making the team. I don't know. Reinbacher's going to have a solid camp, and there is a chance that he makes it. Chances are I would have to say, okay, I'm not making it out of camp, but this is a player for me, maybe getting a little bit of season in the AHL. Once he does get called up by the Habs this season, which he definitely will, I feel like he's going to be a hard guy to send down. His game, he'll almost even play a little bit better at the NHL level than the AHL. I just think he's really suited to play with elite level teammates and competition. So Josh, what are your thoughts? Reinbacher making the team out of camp or no?
This would be a great time for a scalding hot take, wouldn't it? I think my take is that I know Mailloux played in the NHL last year. I think, personally, Reinbacher has a much better chance of making the team than Mailloux, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, and that's probably not popular. I think... no, I don't think he makes the team out of camp. I would love to say yes. I just think Barron is basically guaranteed a spot at this point because they don't want to lose him for nothing. They did waive Armia to start last season. That's a bit of a different situation because they were pretty confident no one would take his contract, and they were right. But I think Barron just has a spot, and I think Savard obviously has a spot, and then you just have too many other guys. I would love to make that hot take. I don't think he makes it, but let us know down in the comments. What are your thoughts now about David Reinbacher maybe making the team out of camp? I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world, and I bet some of you probably think the same. But that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Guys, we're trying to hit, I know, an insane goal, and you've heard me say it every day. I'll say it at the end of every video, not at the start of every video. But if you want to help us reach 15,000 before the start of the season, we only got 4 weeks until then. If you can hit the button down below, we'd really appreciate it. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.